A new allegation of someone being involved with a minor has been thrown into the ring of the year 2024 for content creators. This time, it has to do with a popular content creator called Cody Ko. Now, I believe Cody Ko has been on the internet since the Vine era, or that's when he's been making content, and he had a very good uprising at least. He seemed to be kind of, some would say, a reverse David Dobrik, where he kind of done no wrong. He always seems to be on the right side of history when it comes to YouTube, and always seems to be a well-adjusted, good person. Well, apparently, Tana Mojo has claimed that her and Cody Ko have had sex when she was 17, which at the time probably would have made Cody Ko 25 to 26 years old.
I've tried to talk about this a million times and I feel like I never have the right words. I hooked up with Cody Ko when I was 17 and he was 25. Yeah, it happened.
Now, apparently these allegations have been kind of surfacing, slowly rising for a very long time. But the reason why it hasn't really blown up yet, and you don't really see a lot of channels talking about it, as in fact, as the moment I'm recording this, there's going to be a lot more content about this situation. But the reason why at the time there was really a lot of talk about it, most likely has to do with the fact of who Tana Mojo and Cody Ko are. Tana Mojo has a very controversial history on YouTube. One of the most controversial things she has done was the whole TanaCon, which was a very big disaster in terms of events. And she also has been in the ringer for a lot of other controversies, such as the N-word or whatnot. On the other side, you have Cody Ko, a person who's very well liked, very funny. He's always seen as this kind of golden person on YouTube because he has really never really been in a situation where he's done wrong. So when people hear about the fact that Tana Mojo is bringing something like this up, she has gotten a lot of hate because of it and been told to shut up or whatever, because of the fact, like I said, the person who's being accused of the crime was very well liked, while the person was the victim is someone that's not very well liked within the YouTube community.
I know for a fact if you swapped out Cody Ko with someone that like people didn't like that much, I would be receiving so much more sympathy versus like the amount of people in this industry who like want to protect him.
Now, this allegation was brought up because a video was resurfacing from one of Tana's podcasts from back in the day, where she was asked a question about someone she slept with before, and she said she slept with Cody Ko, but she said she can say that because she was 17 at the time.
You never had sex with? Oh my god, no one look at me, Cody Ko.
But there hasn't really been, like I said, a lot of talk about the situation or that video itself. On one of Tana's podcasts, she goes a bit more into details about the situation, talking about how she slept with Cody Ko and someone told Cody Ko that, hey, that person's underage, you shouldn't be messing with them, and they try to pretty much pull him off her, but they ended up, again, sleeping together.
And there were so many situations. There was a situation with Gabby Hanna at a Playlist Live where she pulled him aside and told him like, yo, she's 17. And then we still went and hooked up.
Now, the person who apparently pulled Cody off Tana and told them and warned them about her being underage was another content creator who also brought this story up without naming anyone specific in a podcast she was involved in.
I told a guy, I saw him making out with a girl at a party who was underage. And I pulled him aside and I was like, hey man, you probably don't know. I know she like looks a little older. She's underage. Watch it. And he's like, oh my God, thank you for telling me. And then
So with this slowly resurfacing and with it going to explode very soon, what does Cody have to say about the whole situation? Well, that's the thing. He hasn't said anything at all about it. In fact, it even seems like he's censoring any kind of talk about that within his own community. If you go on his Instagram posts or his YouTube comments, there seems to be no talk about it at all, which can make us infer that he is deleting any comments regarding the situation or allegation. So he's pretty much just staying silent, which is very loud. His silence is a very loud action that seems to really show the internet where he stands on this and if he's guilty or not. Now, this is still allegations, but in the public perspective, Cody does not look very innocent in this situation. The way he's handling it is not good at all. It's not something an innocent person would really do. It even got to the point where he texted Tana, "Are we good?" which pretty much confirms that there was something between them. Now, Tana Mojo herself says that she doesn't really have any trauma from this, as she kind of says like there's a lot worse things that happened to her, so something like this wasn't really something very traumatic to her.
When I look back at the Cody situation, I definitely am like, why was he doing that? You know what I mean? But I don't associate or hold it with trauma because I am such a comparative person where I'm like, so many worse things have happened to me.
And you didn't, at that time, it's like you don't really know what you're doing and like you don't really think it's wrong. But again, it's like he was 25.
Now, this story hasn't really blown up a lot over the internet yet, and I'm kind of interested to see the discourse over the internet when it really does. The reason why I'm kind of interested is because over the past few years, unfortunately, there's been this discourse over regarding the age of consent in America, or the age of consent overall. We have people like Sneeko arguing the age of consent should be pretty much the age of maturity. I think a prime example of discourse like this was with the Dr. Disrespect situation, where we had people pretty much defending Dr. Disrespect, saying that the minor he was talking to was 17 years old. People like Sneeko even were saying that people will make a big deal for an adult to talk to someone that's 17 years old, 11 months old, and 30 days old. However, these people are misinformed because Dr. Disrespect was not talking to a 17-year-old. In fact, we don't even know how old the minor he was talking to was. And even more on the whole Sneeko thing, Sneeko argues that the age of consent should be the age of maturity. Whatever the fuck that means. When I ever hear people say that age of consent should be the age of maturity, I think that is prone to an excuse to say she was mature for her age if they ever get into a situation where they have sex with a minor. The fact that they're arguing that 17 is not really a big deal, I really do think people who argue that are pretty much just pieces of shit. One of the reasons why I feel like people who make the argument that 17 is nothing too crazy, or even 16, how some states, unfortunately, 16 is the age of consent. The reason why I feel like people who bring up this kind of argument is very flawed and it's not a very good argument is because who's to stop from it going even lower? For example, let's say a very popular content creator was texting a minor who was 17. People would then argue, what's the big deal? 17 is just 1 year from 18, right? Oh, okay then. That sentiment starts growing. 17 is just 1 year away from 18. And people who don't believe me, that there's probably not a lot of people who believe that, there is a lot of people on the internet who kind of believe that 17 years old is not really that big of a deal because it's not very far from fucking 18 years old. So this sentiment starts to grow. This idea that 17 is not very crazy for someone to pursue starts to grow. It gets more popular. Then it becomes 17 is the age of consent. And then now it's to stop for people from going from 17 to 6. And now they start throwing out the ideas. Say if it's 16 is just 1 year from 17. What's the big deal? You see where I'm getting at here? I don't think it leads down to a pipeline of child predators, but I think it's dangerous enough to, in the long run, it'll lead down to a very bad argument of what the age of consent should be. Even the argument that age of maturity is a bad argument itself, because people will say like, oh, she was mature for her age or whatnot. Some predators will bring an argument like that. I feel like what people are missing here when it comes to an adult man or an adult woman pursuing someone younger than them is that it's not the age, it's really just the mental maturity of that person. At 17 and 18, you're not mentally mature. At 18, you're an adult and you might think you're pretty mature for your age, or you might think you're pretty much ready for the world, but in reality, you're not. Even at 21, you're still not ready for the world and the mental fortitude it takes to pretty much go out there by yourself. Scientifically, the human brain stops growing at 25, which means at the age of 25, someone is fully mentally mature. So at the age of 25, as an adult, you should be less stupid and more understanding about the world around you and the ideals and what's to come and how to pretty much navigate through the world. Tana Mojo got famous pretty young. She's been on the internet since her teens. And what people don't get is that when you're on the internet and you got famous during your teens, it really kind of stunts your growth because you got famous for the way you were acting during that age. And when you get older, it gets harder to mentally mature because fame is something for most people very addictive and it feels very good. So in order to retain the amount of fame that you have is to pretty much doing the same thing that got you famous in the first place. That's why we see a lot of people from the Minecraft community turning out to be fucking predators, because at a young age, most of the time, they kind of got famous and they kind of just stunt their mental maturity growth and not really think ahead and not be responsible and mature enough to realize I should not be texting this minor at all. And the idea of being famous very young and gaining fame very fast is something that has affected Tana Mojo. She was thrown into an industry that moves very fast and takes advantage of women very easily. So when she met up with Cody Ko for the first time, it's not crazy to imagine the possible abuse of power that Cody Ko had because he was a much bigger content creator. I'm not saying he did abuse any power he had in order to kind of had his way with her, but Tana Mojo was a huge fan of his growing up. She loves his videos and always wanted to meet Cody. So when they did meet, well, one thing led to another, and then now we have this whole situation.
I was just hooking up with people and having so much fun, and like, because I grew up loving him, and I think you know what I mean? Like, I was just like excited and a fan, and like.
Now, one thing I do want to point out is Tana Mojo states that she has no kind of trauma from the whole situation at all. She says it was kind of weird and that she kind of thinks about it from time to time, but she says that she doesn't really have any trauma. It doesn't pretty much stop her from sleeping at night because she feels like a lot worse things has happened to her. But I don't really think this excuses anything at all. Cody Ko was 25 to 26 at the time. He should have been smart enough and should understand that he should not have been messing around with someone that young. And it's crazy to me how there's people who are pretty much telling Tana to shut up or mind her own damn business based off this allegation when there's no kind of sound coming from Cody Ko at all. D'Angelo Wallace made an excellent video about this whole situation, pretty much calling out Cody Ko and showing all the evidence of the claim that Tana has made. He also shows evidence regarding Cody Ko pretty much deleting comments and trying to censor the whole situation within his community. He makes a very good point too near the beginning of the video where he talks about how most of the commentary community in YouTube are not really talking about this situation at all. He talks about how commentary YouTubers are willing to make a whole video or series based off rumors and allegations all by itself. Now, he's not saying it's because they're picking a side or whatnot, but it seems to be it's just the fact that this whole allegation is just slipping through the cracks. Now, thanks to D'Angelo Wallace, he seems to have really put it under a huge spotlight where YouTubers are now making videos about it. As of now that I've seen, we have pretty much Penguin Zero or Morse Critical and Jamari pretty much talking about it right now. There's probably more commentary channels out there that are doing it, and probably when I'm done editing this and uploading it, there's probably going to be a whole upload of videos about the whole situation. Furthermore, Cody Ko really needs to be held accountable for this kind of thing. And remember when I brought up the fact that I'm interested in the discourse over the internet that's going to happen because of this situation, because most people are going to argue that she was 17, so nothing really bad should happen to Cody Ko. But I really disagree with that at all, because there was a clear difference of power. She was a huge fan of his growing up. She was very young, she got famous and gained a lot of fame very young. And knowing that, Cody should have thought to himself he should not have been messing with this person at all. The moment he heard 17, he should have thought to himself, I'm gonna leave. That's it. But no, that's not what happened. He slept with her. So I'm interested to see how the internet is going to pretty much argue over this, over something pretty much dumb over the fact that she was 17. So for a regular person, you're not really mature yet, even when you're 21. And especially for people who gained fame at such a young age and grew more famous very fast. But regardless, like I said, Cody needs to be held responsible for it. He needs to respond to the situation and allegation. The fact that he's staying silent on it and kind of texting Tana is like, are we good? Is really just clear enough that he's very panicking and he's kind of stressing over what's happening right now.
I think I said something about it online and it was starting to surface, and he texted me like, are we good?
But regardless, that's about it. See ya.